Hello guys. This is a video because I missed out on a video this week. So I'm making two in 2 days. So here we go. Starting after the poem. As we diverted to our new destination, we noticed a rustle coming from inside the trees. We dared not waste time to look up what it might be. We started running. There was a crash and a thud behind us, and some clomping. I got out my pocket knife, turned around to confront it. It wasn't there. Mom got up to back to back with all of us except for the kid. He wandered off into the distance where he supposedly heard a noise. He held up one finger. Then he dashed in a direction where he heard the next noise, giving us the come here signal. I held my knife forcingly in front of me. The Horman jumped out of the bushes and tackled me right as I turned, and he landed on top of the outstretched knife. He raised himself a little in an effort to get up, but fell back down on the knife, leaving a second hole. His throat made a crackling noise just as the other one, and it moaned a deep low tone that sounded out as if some sort of cry that faded away into the wind. His body started to shrivel up, and he was left a giant pile of limbs that were contorted into impossible positions, and the head was looking on in the opposite direction that the body was facing. We stared in disgust at the body, inching around it to get to the other side, where we knew the direction of the lake was. The kid was way ahead of us. We popped out next to him on the out of the so-called hedge, scanning the beaches of the deep maroon lake. We looked for anything that could be words. Red fog floated gently over the lake, the fluffy cotton-like clouds lapping at the rocks until they were tinted pink. The farther into the distance you looked, the more tinted things became. After 20 meters, the objects could not be seen anymore, for the pink fog had drowned out the light from them completely. Almost in every direction pink swarmed us, except for gentle silhouettes of boulders and the beach receding into the distance. Giant rocks were lining the shore and were slightly red at the bottom due to the splashing of the blood. The kid had both his hands up with his middle finger and his pointer finger down in the shape of a person. He then showed them walking away from each other. He pointed to us and then pointed behind us, then behind him, and then to himself. With that, we knew he meant for us to split up. Okay, Mom said. We'll keep an eye on you. We will come if you wave. He nodded. Then we walked off in the direction he pointed us to. We turned and saw him right behind us. He gave me the follow me hand signal. It startled Mom. He walked into the distance and we followed him. Behind were the words, "We will leach," span across the beach for about 6 meters. The kid was reaching into the blood and almost his entire arm was in it. His face lit up. Chapter 12, Locked Out. The kid pulled his hand out of the blood. In his bloody fingers he held a drippy cube. The blood cleared and we saw that it was a wooden box labeled N. He turned it over so the letters were facing us. For the next clue, you need to dig under the place where your hope was most big. A tall, useless structure made out of glass. You have to look under, even under the grass. We had no idea what the structure could be, but I and probably the others looked back on memories that it told us about hope. I tried the entire adventure. The time when Mom slept outside, that was when I was most anxious. That time we saw the phone booth, we were pretty hopeful going there, but it was really disappointing to find out there was nothing there. Finding some wood underneath the snow was pretty lucky, but that was discovered on accident. There was no hope involved. There was some hope while I was slashing at the first Horman, but it was mainly fear again. I'm so glad the house is now safe. That isn't hoping either. That was just a good feeling. When Jonah fell, there was some hope to see if he was still alive or not. We did hope the kid was getting eaten was still alive. but there was no glass structure. And we found box N. That was not hopeful either. It was just the kind of easy to find thing. The most hope we had was when we wanted to go see Jonah at the bottom of the mountain, but that doesn't have anything to do with a structure. The second most hope we had is when we were going to the phone booth, the structure made of glass. We headed off in the area of the phone booth. Somehow we knew where to go. It was southwest. We headed in that direction. After a while, we popped out in a circular area that was about a mile across. Jonah looked down at his compass. The minute hand pointed southeast, but slightly more toward the south mark. The hour hand was about the number 3. That meant we were pretty close. He pointed the way the minute hand faced and went that way. There was some reason no snow in that area, and today was coming out to be a long day. We ran in the direction that Jonah's compass was pointing. We arrived at the camper as soon as the sun was almost over the horizon completely. Mom suddenly had a look of shock on her face. I left the keys inside. We were thinking of ways to get in. The kid pointed to the top of the camper. We looked where he pointed. There was a small dome that could be lifted from the inside to let the air in. The bushes rustled. Our heart rates gently and greatly increased. Our actions became considerably faster. Mom climbed up the triangular grab hold where the truck connects to the camper and got on the ladder. Really scared, we followed. The kid watched us climb up. He was standing on both crutches with his feet off the ground looking up. He turned to the bushes, walked over to them, raised a crutch, and he swung at the hormones to no avail. We hurried faster. Mom broke the dome and jumped through, barely touching the spiked edges. I followed. I heard a hard wooden crack outside that almost sounded like it broke some sort of bone. We opened the door from the inside, and the kid came in amazingly fast. Jonah slammed the door at almost the same time the kid came crashing in. We locked it in less than half a second. We waited a little bit, trying to catch our breaths. I got in the closet. Then I noticed all the windows were curtained with the blankets when coming in, but did not think of what to do. Everything was hidden, but our house was in really bad despair. The oven with the lid tied to the floor and the homemade hole we cut out the top was just a scratch away from tetanus. The curtains were thick and you could not see through it, therefore we could finally sleep on the beds. I moved my, for some reason still made, bed to the mattress that was previously hiding Jonah's bed. I lay down really hungry. Chapter 13, Box U. I sat up in bed, then walked over to my stove. I took the blowtorch and lit some logs that were previously in there. Mom and the boy were laying on their hands watching the fire get made. Jonah slowly rose to watch with them. It was completely dark outside now. Nobody was talking, just laying on their hands, watching me make the fire. A knock sounded. We all looked over to the door. The kid, for some reason, calm. We recognized the sound, and honestly, who would open the door? I looked back at the fire, and then one by one people looked back over to it as well. I put some soup on the stove and untied the string from the nail in the floor, then closed the oven lid and watched the fire peek through the grates, slowly lapping at the water to a boil. The soup was ready. I got out 4 bowls and poured an equal amount into each bowl, which took about 2 minutes. It cooled down enough so you could blow on it twice, and it would be good enough to put in your mouth. It wasn't that good taste-wise, but at least it was something. Every so often we would have something good. I watched the kid try some and his eyes lit up like he drank, and then he drank the entire thing down in one breath. Was it good? The kid gave us a giant smile and a thumbs up. We headed to bed and lay down to look at the fire. We got situated and comfortable. Knock! The door sounded again, causing us to sit up, some of us a little delayed. Knock! I could barely tell there was more than one out there. They were trying to break in. We stayed quiet. Mom was staring through the hole in the ceiling that was coming in. Gradually, I noticed too. I got up and tiptoed over there. Good night.